What's good with y'all TikTok family? What's good with my TikTok family? I said, what's good with my TikTok family? Thank y'all so much for all y'all support. Oh man, I think I love TikTok the best so far. Y'all showing me so much love. I don't have no words. I'm really not doing this to get a lot of views. My whole purpose in doing these videos is to just unload a lot of this stuff that I have caught my mind. Honestly, I really feel like the Most High has called me to do this. When I was a kid, I remember when everybody was like, you're going to be like your grandfather. This is your birthright. Uh, everybody said I was going to take over the church, and it was total insanity to me because I was the furthest away from church. I actually, being totally honest and totally transparent, I hated church. I used to fake asthma attacks. I think I was really having panic attacks because in the morning when my mom would want to get me ready to go to church, I just did not want to go. I wanted no parts of church. Church was just not something I wanted to do. I fell off the wagon so much. I rebelled against God. I have no words to tell you, how far away from this point I always thought I was. And it's just like one day it's hard to explain to you guys how God speaks to you. It sounds like total insanity. It's almost like a very small voice inside of you. It's a voice that you only know if you pray on a ritualistic way. I'm trying to explain this as clearly as I possibly can. I'm opening myself to you guys, TikTok. I'm opening myself to you guys. It's like you hear a voice inside your mind. It's not an actual voice. It's like a thought. It's a whisper. And it always suggests something that is a thought that you would never think. An example, I remember driving to work. As a matter of fact, this was before I was actually driving to work. When I was driving to work, the voice was screaming at me. But one day, I was walking home from the barbershop. I had let my wife use my car to get back and forth to work, and I was walking. I thought that was an admirable thing to do, but come to find out, I don't really think she cared nothing about it. I think she felt like she was entitled to more than what I could give her. That being said, I was walking home from work one day. I had a terrible day at work. It's one thing about working in the barbershop. When you need the money, it ain't there. When you don't need the money is totally abundant. I was walking home from work, and I felt this feeling of, the best way I can describe it is just despair. I never had the feeling of giving up. That just doesn't come to me, that feeling of giving up. It's just a feeling of being like, I'm tired. I need a rest. I need to recharge. And I was just feeling like I was just totally overwhelmed. And a thought came into my mind and said, you need to fast. Out of the blue. I never fasted before. I tried to fast just to see if I could do it. Was had nothing to do with anything spiritual. I just wanted to see if I could just not eat. Let me tell you something. First time I tried to fast, I couldn't go longer than, I'm being totally honest, 12 hours seemed like I was going to die. One day, I felt like I was dead. Let alone going 2 and 3 days. So the voice told me I was going to fast. Like I said, it's something that you just don't think about. Just be easy with me. I'm going to get to the video in a minute. I just felt like this was important that I share this with you. The voice came out of nowhere. It was a thought that came into my mind, and it was very, very quiet. When Satan speaks to you, it's overwhelming. It's like trying to stop smoking weed. When I first tried to stop smoking weed, it was like, you wake up with the thought, everywhere you go with the thought. It's like, it's a nagging, never ending, you got to do it. 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 When that's how it is when I believe that it's Satan speaking to you. It is just, if you ever try to quit an addiction or quit trying to drink coffee or quit trying to eat sugar, that feeling of feeling like you can't do it, that is the feeling of Satan speaking to you. It's overwhelming. When God speaks to you, or when the Holy Spirit speaks to you, it's a whisper. It's a slight suggestion. And if you're not really focused, you won't hear it. Or you'll hear it and you'll just cancel it out of your mind as if you didn't hear it. You'll just forget you heard it. But if you stay focused, if you are used to praying, which I was, I pray all the time. Even when I was in the streets, I prayed all the time. I was brought up in this way. I pray over my food every single time I eat. I pray not only when I need something, but I just pray on a ritualistic way. I've done this all my life. So when you do that, you hear the voice. Now, the voice said to me, you need to fast. Not you're gonna fast. You need to fast. So I heard the voice, and then I just was thinking in my mind, like, wow, I wonder what it would be like to fast. Now, as I was walking home, I was feeling this pain in my lower abdominal, almost in my groin, but in my, I guess that would be the solar plexus, and it was really hurting me. It was hurting me like really bad. I could barely walk home. It's weird, but sometimes, in your life, you're going through so much stuff, you don't really pay attention to yourself physically. And I had been going through feeling this pain for a long time. And it was like if I put my finger on it, I could kind of feel a little bump there or a little swelling there. And if I hold my finger on hold some pressure on the area, the pain would go away. This time I was holding my fingers on the area, holding pressure on the area, and it just wasn't going away. So that next morning, I go to the doctor, and they tell me I have a hernia. Schedule some surgery that I have to have. Come to find out, the hernia was way worse than I actually thought it was. They couldn't believe I had been walking around with the hernia. So they scheduled an appointment. It was a quick date. It was like, we'll say a month away. I can't really remember how far I was away. I just know they didn't give me that much time. Now, I never had surgery before, ever in my life have I ever had any level of surgery. I never broke a bone before in my life, and now I'm going to get a surgery. So I'm going through a terrible marriage. At that point, I knew that my marriage was not going to work out and I was going to get a divorce. But I was so broke that I didn't know how I was going to make it on my own getting divorced, especially with two small children and, you know, just I just didn't know how I was going to make it financially. So I just kept hanging in there and kept enduring. I was unhappy. I knew she was unhappy. And I knew it was probably infidelity on her part. I wasn't cheating on her because I was too broke to cheat on her. So that explains why I felt so desolate. So I'm in this terrible marriage. Now I'm getting ready to have surgery. My son gets sick a week before the surgery, right? He gets sick. My son at that point was around 7 years old, and he got a really high fever. He got really sick, really, really, really sick. I'm talking about he didn't get out of the bed. Literally, I will have to feed him in while he was in the bed, and he would just go, and I would have to force him to eat. He would just go back to sleep. It was really, really scary. He told me a couple of times, "Dad, I think I'm gonna die." This is how bad this was. This is right before COVID. This is when they were still calling it H1N1, and I had no idea what H1N1 was. I heard it, before, didn't know anything about it. He got really sick. So now this was maybe a week or so before my hernia surgery. Crazy thing is, I get sick. I get a fever before my hernia surgery. So I called the hospital, told them I was really sick, went and got a checkup, had 103-degree fever. They said it was the flu. So they postponed my surgery for about 2 weeks. It was like, you really need this surgery. You got to come down and get this surgery. It's really important. You need to stay off your feet. You need to try to get well. So my son ends up, thank God he ends up, his fever goes down and he's starting to get better. But because he had such a high fever for so long, he had really bad body aches and, it just wreaked havoc on his body. So I still had to nurse him. That went on for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Now, when I got sick, I just kind of walked through it. Now, my marriage was so bad, my ex-wife just totally avoided me and my son. I have a young daughter. Also, her and her brother are around 14 months apart. Something like that. They're like 14 months apart. And, I still had to take care of my daughter. My ex-wife was MIA, supposedly working all the time, but I think it was some infidelity there. That being said, I was taking care of my son, taking care of my daughter, and trying to get myself back to health. Through this time, I'm not eating. So I noticed I went maybe 2 days without eating. Not because I was fasting, it's because I couldn't eat. So now we got, it was less than a week or till I had to have the surgery, and I hadn't eaten for a couple of days. I think it was maybe like 2 days I didn't eat. Or if I did eat, it was very, very sparsely. I cannot remember eating, to be honest with you, but I'm really not sure. I just the way I remember it, I was so sick, I just didn't have an appetite to eat anything. So now we're moving towards the surgery. We're moving towards the surgery. So they tell me in the pre-surgery, it's like you have an appointment and they tell you what the surgery is going to be. So they said that I had to have a totally empty stomach on the surgery. I forgot how many days that they say, but I think it's the day before, the day after. I can't remember exactly. And I remember I only had like a week to go for the surgery. So the doctor told me I was well enough to have the surgery, so we're on with the surgery. So a day goes by, another day goes by, I'm still not eating. So now I was like, well, I might as well continue this fast until I finish with the surgery, because of that voice that I had. You're gonna fast. So I just said, well, this is what I'm supposed to do, so I guess I'm gonna keep going doing it. This wasn't hard at all. When I tell you it wasn't hard at all, and that this was my first time actually successfully fasting, it wasn't hard at all because, first of all, I was really sick. Second of all, I was really stressed. So I just did not have an appetite. So we go through the fast, and this voice comes to me again and says to me, you need to pray. You need to get close to me. It was something like that. I just understood that God was calling. Now it's time for me to go to surgery. I'll wake up early that morning. I go to surgery. When I got ready to go to surgery, I have been into essential oils, and I put frankincense, a blend of frankincense and myrrh, and I anointed my whole body on the way going. Now, I was really nervous to go and have this really minor and basic surgery because, like I said to you before, I'd never had a surgery before. I never had any level of procedure anymore, and I was a little nervous. So I anointed myself and I prayed. When I prayed for, I don't know how long I was meditating in prayer, but I prayed. Now, the key here is I'm not a churchy guy. I'm not going to church. I'm still smoking marijuana. I'm still drinking. I'm still doing all of this. Like, I'm not a churchy guy. I'm cursing. I'm getting angry. I'm the biggest sinner in the world. So I don't want you guys to think like, this is some Christian doing this. No, this is a calling. This is a calling. This is something that is propelling me to do it, as if I had no choice but to do it. So I go to the surgery, and they just kept commenting on how I smelled. Now, this is the people in surgery. As I'm going, they do your checkup, they do your blood pressure and everything. I don't, if any of you guys ever had a procedure. So they just keep commenting on how I smell. Now, it wasn't like I just took a shower, came near, anointed myself with oil. I had, put the oil all over my body and got a couple showers before that. It wasn't, like I said, I didn't even feel like they could even smell it, but it was coming out of my pores. I'm looking at this like that was a sign or something. So they kept commenting me, and I'm like, well, is it bad because I made sure that I didn't have the oil on when I was going to coming to the hospital because I know I'm having a procedure. No, they were telling me it's good for your skin. It helps the healing process, and they gave me this whole spiel on how essential oils helps in surgery, which was good. So I have the surgery. I come home. Surgery goes off good. So now I don't want to eat again. Time is going by. Time is going by. Time is going by. Next thing you know, my son says to me, "Dad, why aren't you eating?" And I said I was on a fast. He didn't know what a fast was. I didn't really know what a fast was. He was like, "Dad, I'm getting scared. I think you need to eat." Because I just had the surgery. We were both just sick. And he was thinking, something was wrong. He's thinking something was off. He just knew that I wasn't eating. Come to find out, it had been already three weeks and a couple of days that I didn't eat. This is not a lie. This is not I really don't care if you believe me or not. This is the absolute truth. So I complete a total of 32 days fasting, just drinking water. Let me tell you something about fasting. When you fast and pray, it's like you go into this euphoria. It's like you're asleep, but you're awake at the same time. It's like you're in the spirit world, and you can really hear God speaking to you. And God was telling me, you're going to be all right. Things are going to be okay. It was like just a comforting thing. Not a voice, just a thought. Everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be okay. Everything around me is in total chaos at this point. I get a call from my mother right when I stopped the fast. Maybe 2 or 3 days after I stopped the fast. If you've ever fasted, you got to start eating again very, very slowly. I started with bone broth, gradually brought it up to chicken noodle soup without the chicken. Then gradually, you're bringing your food back into your system very gradually. I get a phone call from my mom. She calls me. She tells me my cousin has passed. Now, my cousin is, I think Maurice was 10 or 15 years my younger cousin. So it was unfathomable that he could die. He was one of the most healthy, strongest people I know. He was amazing. So she tells me that he passed. Now, I knew he was sick, but I had so much stuff going on in my mind that I just kind of forgot about it. I remember they told me that he had got sick, and they said he was throwing up blood, which I felt was a little weird. But, I just thought, he got really sick. And I remember asking his twin brother to tell me more about his sickness, and he couldn't tell me. So, my cousin went to the hospital, and I asked, my cousin's wife, she just went silent. She wasn't speaking to me anymore. She wouldn't answer anybody's phone calls. So I got into now, my cousin Demetrius, who is still living, is his twin brother. And so I'm asking Demetrius, what's wrong with your brother? Like, I need to go, since you can't tell me what's wrong with him, I need to go to the hospital. And he said, Tiz, they're not even letting me go. The only ones that can go see him is his wife and my father. So I was like, that was weird. But I kind of just, in my mind, was thinking, okay, I'll just go and see him when he gets well enough to see him. And I kind of just put it out of my mind. Like I said, This kid is healthy as a horse. I'm not thinking that he's gonna die. I'm not thinking that he's gonna pass away. I'm not thinking that I'm just thinking he's gonna get better, and I'm gonna end up going to see him. So all of this stuff happens. I fast. I come off the fast, and the phone rings. My mother calls and says my cousin died. I remember I just started screaming. I just could not believe that he died. I just couldn't believe it. I've experienced death. You know, as you get older, people die. You just hope it's not going to be you next. But I just did not see this happening. You know, I remember the first day he was born. I remember it was a Sunday, April Fool's Day. We thought he and his brother were going to be girls up until the day my aunt had them. And then she ended up having boys. And it was April Fool's Day. I remember picking him up for the first time. And I remember feeling that his grip was a little stronger than his brother's grip. He looked at me, and his brother still had his eyes closed. I still remember all of this stuff. This kid was a master chess player. He, like I said, his fitness was phenomenal. He was a photographer. He had married a woman. She's a radio personality, and they were doing great. Like, I don't want to say he was rich, but they were really well off with money. He was doing so much better than me. I never had 1 ounce of jealousy in me for him. I just felt like I was just so proud of him. Like his mother, he was extremely talented at whatever he tried to do. So when he died, I just felt like the loss was incredible. So at that point, the voice says to me, "You're prepared for this. You're ready for this." And I'm telling you all of this because at that point I knew, with the fasting and with everything, I knew what my life was going to be. I didn't know I was going to do this, but I knew I was going to dedicate the rest of my life to the Most High and do every single thing that He told me to do from that point. He told me to divorce my wife, and I did that. He told me to stop drinking and smoking. I did that. He told me not to leave my home when I got divorced and to let her leave. I did that. He told me to keep my children instead of leaving. I did that. He told me to get this job that I have right now, which I thought I would never work a job ever in my life. I did that. He told me to keep this job. I did that. And He has been leading me in my life ever since. I took a half an hour to tell you guys this, and I'm supposed to be leading into my next video. But I just thought that this was so important before I got ready to do this next video, because I want you guys to understand who I am, and I want you guys to understand that the motivation for me to do the things that I'm doing is not me. It absolutely is not me. So if you're listening to this video, I want you to understand that maybe God is calling you to listen to this video, because it's not me. All of the information that I've compiled, it's not me. Everything that I know, it's not me. And I just want you guys to understand that. So The next video, I'm going to be getting into Genesis. Peace and